Dear students, in this video I will explain profits and gains from business and profession. Myself Kusma Mangala DV, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce and Management, Government First Grade College, Yelahanka. In the previous video I explained admissible expenses and incomes. In this video I will explain inadmissible expenses and inadmissible incomes and format for computation of profits and gains from business and profession. Inadmissible expenses. Inadmissible expenses are those expenses which are not allowed under the IT Act. It means they are not business related expenses. It should not be debited to P&L account as per the IT Act. If in the P&L account, in the debit side, if such inadmissible expenses are already taken, it should be deducted or it should be taken out from the P&L account. But since the P&L account is already prepared, in the net profit we have to make the adjustment by adding all the inadmissible expenses. Because since he has already taken these expenses in the P&L account, the net profit is not showing the correct picture. Net profit is less. If we add back all these inadmissible expenses, net profit will show the correct picture. Now let us see which are the inadmissible expenses which we have to add back to the net profit. First one is fines and penalties. If he carries on the business properly without any mistakes, there is no need for him to make any fines and penalties. So, fines and penalties are always treated as inadmissible expenses. Second one is interest on own capital. If he invests capital in the business, on his own capital, if he takes the interest, that is not business expenses. Interest paid only on the loan taken from the banks for carrying on the business purpose is treated as admissible business expenses. So, interest on own capital is treated as inadmissible expenses. Third one, if the loan is taken for the children's educations or for children's marriage purpose, etc., and interest is paid on such loan, it is also treated as inadmissible expenses. Only if the interest is paid on the loan taken for the business purpose, it is treated as admissible. Fourth one, if salary is paid outside India to the workers or the employees who are sent abroad for the sake of the business, and from that salary, if the TDS is made, tax is deducted at source, only then it is treated as admissible. If the salary is paid without TDS, it is inadmissible. In the same way, if the interest on loan is paid outside India without TDS, it is also treated as inadmissible expenses because it is paid without TDS. Fifth point, illegal expenses. As the word itself is indicating, it is illegal, so it is inadmissible. Sixth one, legal expenses to acquire the defective title of the assets. In the previous video, we have already discussed if legal expenses are incurred to acquire the legal title of the assets, then it is admissible. But this is defective title of the assets. So, it is treated as inadmissible. Seventh point, gifts and presents. If it is given to customers for publicity purpose, it is admissible. If gifts and presents given for non-publicity purpose, it is treated as inadmissible. Eighth point, GST, customs duty, local taxes of the premises. If they are paid before the due date, they are admissible. But if they are not paid before due date, it is treated as inadmissible expenses. Ninth point, if business expenses paid in cash exceeding rupees 10,000, 100% of such payment should be treated as inadmissible expenses, because any business expenses above rupees 10,000 should be paid in the form of check only. If it is given in the problem, any payment made above rupees 10,000 paid in cash, full amount should be treated as inadmissible. 10th point, speculation business loss. Speculation business loss should be always deducted from the speculation business income only, not from the ordinary business, and it should not be taken in the debit side of the P&L account as a expenditure. 11th point, reserve for future losses. They are only reserves, but not the actual loss of the business. So reserves are not the actual expenses, so it is inadmissible. 12th point, bad debts still recoverable. If bad debts are given in the problem, it is admissible, it is the part of the business, but bad debts still recoverable means it is not yet either recovered or it is not yet fully declared as bad debts. So we should not treat it as full bad debts, and only if it is fully declared as a bad debts, then we can show it in the debit side of the P&L account. So bad debts still recoverable is treated as inadmissible. In the same way, provision for bad and doubtful debts, they are only provisions, not real bad debts. So provisions for bad and doubtful debts also treated as inadmissible. 14th point, excess depreciation. In the previous class, I explained for different assets, different rate of depreciation. If the businessman will take more than the income tax department fixed rate of depreciation, then that excess depreciation should be treated as inadmissible. 15th point, direct taxes like income tax, advance income tax, wealth tax, interest on loan taken to pay the income tax, etc. They are all treated as inadmissible expenses because they are all relating to his personal income tax. On his full all 5 heads of income, he has to pay the tax. If we take the wealth tax, on his wealth he is paying the tax. If we take the property tax, on his property, house property, he is paying the tax. So it is all his personal, they are all not relating to his business. So they are all treated as inadmissible expenses. 15th point, Difference in trial balance. If the businessman prepares the journal entries, all ledger accounts, P&L account, balance sheet and the trial balance properly, the trial balance will going to show the correct picture. There will be no difference in the trial balance. But always, since some mistakes will going to happen in the maintenance of the accounts, there will be a difference in the trial balance, and the difference in the trial balance you will going to show it in the debit side of the P&L account, and that is treated as inadmissible. 17th point, capital losses like loss on sale of machinery, loss on sale of furniture, etc. From the head, income from capital gains, we will going to calculate the capital losses. Suppose if there is any capital losses, it should be set off against the income from the capital assets, if any. So it should be taken in the fourth head of the income, that is income from capital gains. So from the sale of the asset, if he incurs any loss, such as loss on sale of machinery, loss on sale of furniture, etc., it should not be taken in the business accounts or debit side of the P&L account. It should be treated as inadmissible. 18th point, charities and donations. They are not business related expenses. It is his personal. If you want to give money in the form of charity or donations, he can give it from his savings, but not from his business accounts, and he cannot show it in the debit side of the P&L account. If he shows it in the debit side of the P&L account, it is inadmissible. Next, contribution to staff welfare fund. In the previous class, we discussed staff welfare expenses are admissible. They are the real expenses incurred for the welfare of the staff or the employees of the organization. However, contribution to staff welfare fund, it is only a fund, not the expenses. So it should be treated as inadmissible. 20th point, unapproved and unrecognized fund contribution. Any fund contribution which is unapproved and unrecognized by the IT department should be treated as inadmissible expenses. Point number 21, purchase of patents, copyrights, technical know-how, trademarks and any other capital assets. Purchase of any capital assets or any intangible assets should be treated as inadmissible expenses. However, depreciation on the same should be treated as admissible expenses. Depreciation may not be given in the problem, or depreciation may not be taken by the assessee in the P&L account, but it should be calculated as per the IT Act. For different assets, different depreciation rate is there. Based on that, we should only calculate the depreciation and we should only make the adjustment. So there are two entries for this. First one is for the purchase of the assets, any assets, whether it is a capital asset or an intangible asset. It should be treated as inadmissible and added to the net profit. This is first step. Second step is depreciation. It is admissible expenses. It will not be shown in the debit side of the P&L account. Okay. So it should be deducted. They are the real expenditures and it should be deducted from the net profit. So in this point, Purchase of patents, copyrights, technical know-how, trademarks, etc. It should be treated as inadmissible and it should be added to the P&L account. However, 25% depreciation is the allowable expenses. It should be deducted from the net profits. So, two adjustments we have to make. Next point, and it is the most important point, personal expenses. These are some of the personal expenses which the businessman will going to show it in his P&L account in his debit side. First one, life insurance premium paid on own life or any member of his family. So this is personal. It is not business related expenses. It is his own life policy or any family members life insurance policies. It should be treated as inadmissible because it is his personal expenses. In the same way, amount invested in NSS, that is National Savings Schemes, National Savings Certificates, Public Provident Fund. All these three are also personal in nature. Investment made in for his personal purpose. It should also be treated as inadmissible. Proprietor salary. Proprietor is the assessee or the businessman himself. So he will take the salary for himself and he will going to show it in the P&L accounts. So again, the proprietor's bonus. So proprietor's salary and proprietor's bonus, both he is taking for himself. It should be treated as inadmissible. Only salary or the bonus, allowances, perk visits given to employees, paid to employees, should be treated as business expenses. Next, personal drawings or only drawings will be given in the problem. This is also, he is drawing money for his personal purpose from the business account. So, this also should not be treated as business expenses because it is clearly given it is personal drawings. Whenever he wants money, he is taking money from the business accounts. So, this is also inadmissible. Theft from residence. See, residence means his house. So, if any theft happens, so that loss also is showing in his business accounts. So, this is also inadmissible. Rent of his residence. So, he is residing in a rented house and he is paying the rent for the house. So, this is also personal and inadmissible. Casual help. For all those people who are casually helping in his business, he is giving some money. So, that he is showing as casual help expenses. That is also inadmissible. Household expenses. This is also his own house related expenses. So, this should also be treated as inadmissible expenses. Next, preliminary expenses. These are the expenses incurred by the assessee before the commencement of the business. That is, before starting the business only he has incurred. That is, he may conduct the market survey, he may prepare the feasibility report, project report, etc. to study how his business will going to click in future. Whether he will going to earn the profit, study of the market, about the customers, about the product and all. So, these expenses are incurred before the commencement of the business. So, in 1 year, that is after the commencement of the business, in the next year itself, in the P&L account, the entire preliminary expenses he should not show. First, he should calculate the qualifying amount of preliminary expenses and whatever the amount will going to come, that amount he should split in 5 years. From the commencement of the business, from the year of commencement of the business, for the next 5 years, he should split the preliminary expenses. So in 5 equal annual installments, he can show the preliminary expenses in the debit side of the P&L account. Let us see the qualifying amount of preliminary expenses. Preliminary expenses will be given in the problem. That amount are 5% of the cost of the project, whichever is less. Among these two, whichever is less, we should take and we should treat it as preliminary expenses, and that amount we have to divide among 5 years. So divided by 5. So whatever the amount we will get 1/5. So that amount we should take it for the previous year 2018-19. Now let us discuss inadmissible incomes. Inadmissible incomes are those incomes which are not relating to the business, but still sometimes he will going to show it in the credit side of the P&L account. If inadmissible incomes are credited to P&L account, since they are already credited, when we are making the adjustment, when we are arriving at the corrected net profit, we should deduct these inadmissible incomes from the net profit. Now let us discuss inadmissible expenses. First one, dividend. Dividend, we have already calculated it in the income from other sources. Under the head income from other sources, dividend is calculated. Dividend income is shown. In the same way, interest on securities also. Again, director's fees. So many points which we will going to calculate under the head income from other sources may be taken in the credit side of the P&L account, but it should be removed by adjusting, that is from deducting from the net profit. Third point, rent from house property. So rent received is not a business income. It is calculated under the head income from house property, second head of income. So this should also be treated as inadmissible incomes. Next, share of income from HUF. It is a HUF income. In the same way, if the firm income is given, firm income is also calculated separately. So those should be treated as inadmissible incomes. Next, point number 5, profit on sale of car. So profit on sale of any capital asset, whether it is short term, see the 6th point, whether it is a short term capital asset or a long term capital asset sold, its income or its capital gain is taxable under the head income from capital gains, but not under the head profits and gains from business. So in this head, suppose if he has already taken capital gain in the credit side of the P&L account, it should be treated as inadmissible incomes and it should be deducted from net profit to arrive at the correct net profit. Let us discuss the format for computation of income from business. As usual, we have to take the assessee status, assessment year and the previous year. We have to always start with the net profit as per the P&L account. Since the net profit of the P&L account is not showing the correct picture, we have to start with the net profit of the P&L account. We have to add 4 items and we have to reduce or deduct 4 items to arrive at the adjusted net profit as per the P&L account are total taxable income from business. Now let us see which are the 4 items we have to add. First one is inadmissible expenses debited to P&L account. Inadmissible expenses debited to P&L account. These are the inadmissible expenses already debited to the P&L account. So since they are already debited to the P&L account, expenditure is more, and because of that net profit has reduced. So if we add back that amount to the net profit will show the correct picture. Second one, business income I have shown in green color. Inadmissible I have shown in red color. Admissible I have shown in green color. So business income, this is admissible business income, but it is not shown in the credit side of the P&L account. It will be given in the adjustment. So since the already P&L account is prepared, we have to make adjustment only in the net profit of the P&L account. How we can make the net adjustment? We have to just add back this amount since they are business incomes only. Since they are incomes, just add back it to the net profit. That's all. Next point, third point, overvaluation of the opening stock. First point and the third point are having the same concept. First point is purely inadmissible, but third point is overvaluation. Opening stock is more. Opening stock is more. So what is the excess or overvaluation of the opening stock amount that we have to add back? Fourth point. Fourth point and the second point are in the same concept. Both will come in the credit side. Undervaluation of the closing stock. Closing stock value has reduced and shown in the credit side of the P&L account. So just add back. What is the less amount? Just add back to the net profit. That's all. Now let us see which are the items which we have to reduce or deduct from the net profit. Admissible expenses not debited to P&L account. See, in green I have taken. So it is admissible. So it has to go or it has to appear in the debit side of the P&L account. But it will be given in the adjustment. Since the P&L account is already prepared and net profit is already calculated, it is shown in the additional information or adjustments. So now, since they are expenses, just reduce it from the net profit. That's all. In the same way, inadmissible incomes. These are the inadmissible incomes which are already credited to the P&L account. It is already appearing in the P&L account, but they are inadmissible. Just now we discussed the inadmissible incomes such as dividend, interest on securities, rent, etc. These should not be taken into the debit side of the P&L account. So, if we just remove those amount, that is deduct from the net profit will show the correct picture. Third point, undervaluation of opening stock. Opening stock value has reduced. So opening stock, it should come in the debit side. So if we take it, the net profit will reduce, isn't it? If we take the opening stock properly, net profit value will going to reduce. So now we will going to take the reduce or deduct from the net profit to arrive at the adjusted net profit or correct net profit. Last one, overvaluation of closing stock. In the credit side, closing stock has overvalued. It has become more. So that more money has to be reduced from the net profit. That's all. If we do these adjustments, finally we will going to arrive at the taxable income from business, or it is also called as taxable net profit as per the P&L account, or adjusted net profit as per the Income Tax Act.